Guruve
Shri
Chaitanya
Chaitanya
Sthapitam
Stapitam
Yena
Yena
Bhutale Swayam
Yam
Rupa
Rupa Kadamayam
Dadati Vishwapadantikam Vande
Vandeham Shri
Shri Guru Shri Padakamalam
Kamalam
Shri Guru Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagara Tam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvaitam
Advaitam Parijanam
Tam Krishna Chaitanya Devam
Shri
Shri Radha
Krishna Padam
Sadhana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam He
Krishna Karuna Sindhu
Dinabandho Jagat Gopesha Gopika Kanta Kanta Namo
Namostute
Tapta
Tapta
Kanta
Kanchana
Krishabhanu Vanamami Hari
Kripa
Patitanam Vaishnavibhyo Namo
Shri
Jai
Krishna Chaitanya
Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara
Shri
Srivasadi
Vasadi
Gaura
Gaurabhaktavrinda Hare
Hare
Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Krishna Hare Hare Hare
Hare
Rama
Rama
Rama Rama
Rama
Hare
Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare.
So I'll read the Sanskrit. We are on chapter 9, verse number 15.
Yes.
Jnana yagyena chapi anye yajanto mam upashate eka tvam prithakvena bahuda vishwato mukham. Translation by Shri Prabhupada. Others who engage in sacrifice by the cultivation of knowledge worship the Supreme Lord as the one without a second, as diverse in many and in the universal form. Mataji, you can read the purport.
Hare Krishna. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Ki jai.
This verse is the summary of the previous verses. The Lord tells Arjuna that those who are purely in Krishna consciousness and do not know anything other than Krishna are called Mahatma. Yet, there are other persons who are not exactly in the position of Mahatma, but who worships Krishna also in different ways. Some of them have already been described as the distressed, the financial destitute, the inquisitive, and those who are engaged in the cultivation of knowledge. But there are others who are still lower, and they are divided into three. He who worships himself as one with the Supreme Lord, he who concocts some form of the Supreme Lord and worships that, and number three, he who accepts the universal form, the Vishwarupa of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and worships that. Out of the above three, the lowest, those who worship themselves as the Supreme Lord, thinking themselves to be monoists, are most predominant. Such people think themselves to be the Supreme Lord, and if in this mentality they worship themselves. This is also a type of God worship, for they can understand that they are not the material body, but they are actually spiritual soul. At least Such a sense is prominent. Generally, the impersonalists worship the Supreme Lord in this way. The second class includes the worshippers of the demigods, those who by imagination consider any form to be the form of the Supreme Lord. And the third case includes those who cannot conceive of anything beyond the manifestation of this material universe. They consider the universe to be the supreme organism of entity and worship that. The universe is also the form of the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. So the verse for today is others who engage in sacrifice by the cultivation of knowledge. Worship the Supreme Lord as the one without a second, as diverse in many and in the universal form. Now you'll find that this verse is a summation of the previous verses, especially from verse number 11 to 14. In the verse number 11, some people, especially people who are not very intelligent, they take Krishna to be an ordinary human being like us. And because Krishna looks like a human being, they think he's just one of us. Although Krishna is the supreme controller. If those who surrender to Krishna achieve transcendence, certainly Krishna is transcendental. In other words, we should understand that even they are fools, but even if they take Krishna to be like them, if they start worshipping them, and if they become transcendental, it means Krishna is transcendental. That was the purport of verse number 11. In the 12, it says, even if a person studies Bhagavad Gita and pretends to follow spiritual practices, if they don't accept Krishna, they will go down. This is written in Brihan Vishnu Smriti, that if after studying Bhagavad Gita, the aim, the conclusion or the essence of Bhagavad Gita is Krishna is everything. And once you start worshipping Krishna, it means you know Bhagavad Gita. Otherwise, all the study is useless. The verse number 13 said, due to their full surrender, the Mahatmas, here the word Mahatma is used. Mahatma means not ordinary people, pure devotees of Krishna. They gain freedom from Maya. They will not be overcome by the illusory energy of Krishna. So one who becomes a devotee means he is concerned about his relationship with Krishna. And the verse number 14 said, which is a very, very powerful verse. I think you must have read it yesterday. Satatam Kirtayanto Mam. Always chanting my glories. Now that is the identity of a Mahatma. And these prescribed austerities help us serious devotees to their progress. Now the verse for today is a new section in which people who don't worship Krishna, but who are the other categories, is being explained in this particular verse. So if you go to the purport, Sri Prabhupada says that pure devotees, as far as pure devotees are concerned, they only know Krishna and no one else. In order to become a devotee of Krishna, then one has to be fully absorbed in Krishna. In the Brahma Samhita, there's a very famous verse. Advaitam Achyutam Anadi Anantarupam Adyan Purana Purusham Navayo Manamcha Vedesa Dullabam Adullabam Atma Bhakto Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. The meaning is that though the Lord is one, Advaitam, Achyutam, is infallible. Anadi Ananto, he is the beginning of everything. From him everything is coming. To know that Lord, even if you study the Vedas, you can't know Krishna. If you want to know Krishna, the easiest way is to approach his pure devotee. Atma Bhakta means one who carries Krishna in the heart all the time is called Atma Bhakta. For him, it's very easy to give Krishna. So in our Krishna consciousness, what do? We serve pure devotees. And that is our duty. By serving pure devotees, we will know Krishna full. In other words, Krishna needs 100% surrender. And those who become pure devotees, they surrender their lives fully in the service of Krishna, even their lives. Now, those in the chapter 7, if you remember, that 4 kinds of people come to Krishna: Artha, Artati, Jnani, and Jigyashu. Artha means those who are in distress, those who are seeker of wealth, those who are, what do you call, inquisitive, and those who are in knowledge. Even those 4 are considered to be much better than the general mass of people. At least they will come to Krishna. And in this particular verse, Srila Prabhupada is explaining lower than that. And he classifies them into 3 categories. The first one, if you go to the purport, the number 1, those who worship themselves as the Lord. And you'll find this, many people do like that. Very common among Mayavadis. They think we have become God, which is not a right mentality, it's a wrong mentality. However, Srila Prabhupada gives a plus point. At least they think that they have become spiritual. At least that they know that they are not material bodies. So Srila Prabhupada gives a point. But such people cannot become devotees, really speaking. They are very low. I can give you my personal examples. I think about 4 to 5 years ago, I was in the office in the temple, and one family came from India. And it was a couple. And a girl was around, one girl, a young girl, around 9 years old. And they took darshan, and while they were going out, I told them Hare Krishna and come again. And the girl gave me an answer, and I was shocked. She says, I'm also Bhagavan. A small girl, 9 years old, she just said, I'm also Bhagavan. So this kind of philosophy must be common in India. Of course, not much in Kenya, because I can recognize they were from India. So there must be a class of people who think now they become God. Maybe they were born in a high Brahmin family, maybe because of some high education, but that does not mean one can become Krishna. Krishna remains Krishna. Advaita means Krishna is only one. Advaita means mono, only one. Nobody can become Krishna. So I have this experience to share. It was very shocking that what do I tell the next? She herself says, I have become Bhagavan. So Srila Prabhupada, in many lectures, if you hear, Srila Prabhupada hits at this word Mayavadi. What Mayavadi, the first meaning of Mayavadi is those who don't want to believe in God. That's the first definition of Mayavadi. Second Mayavadi is someone who thinks everything is Maya, including even if there is God, is in Maya. So these are the 2 understanding of every Mayavadi. They think that after some time, we can also become gods. Prabhupada explains in another lecture that they will also come to temple. They will also worship Krishna, or they will worship the Supreme. And many times they take demigods or Krishna to be all same. And then they say that when we will become perfect, we do not need to worship Krishna. This is their understanding. So we have to be very careful that our understanding does not become like them. Otherwise, the little Krishna consciousness will go away completely. I can also share another example that there are many people who come to our temple, but they do not give up their old ways. They say, oh, how can we stop worshipping others? They will feel offended. But now we are surrendered to Krishna. You have to worship Krishna. And what is the sign that you are surrendered to Krishna? The first sign is that you have accepted a spiritual master. It means you are surrendered to Krishna. Many people ask this practical question, what does surrender mean? So Sripad Ramanujacharya explains very clearly to his favorite disciple. He says, when you say you surrender to Krishna, it means you have to accept the shelter of a devotee of Krishna, a pure devotee of Krishna. If you take the shelter of that pure devotee, it shows you have begun to surrender. The surrender process has started. But you'll find many people who come to our temple for many, many years, but they are not ready to get initiation. And even among those also who take initiation, some of them do not still give the old ways. They'll worship different demigods, they'll do some different rituals, which is not a necessity. That means not 100% surrender. 100% surrender means now you accept a spiritual master who is a pure devotee, you follow his instruction, and he is your life and soul. His instructions are your life and soul. If you follow that, it means you are surrendered. But if you concoct some other kind of ways of worshipping, you are still not surrendered. That's why you find very common, especially in our Indian community, very, very difficult to find fully surrendered people who surrender to Krishna. Even after joining ISKCON, I mean, even if they come for many, many years, but they don't get this idea that surrender means to accept Krishna as all in all, or Krishna's representative to be all in all. So this is number one. Number two, those who concoct some form of the Supreme Lord and worship them. There are many who take all of the gods, like we have 330 million devtas, demigods. They think you worship any one of them, everything is Krishna. No. Prabhupada says, no, you cannot equate all of them with Krishna. Like the second offense to the holy name is, even the great demigods like Brahma or Shiva cannot be kept equal or put equal on the same platform as Lord Vishnu, or even their names. Lord Vishnu's worship or Lord Vishnu's name is above and is absolute. But people still don't understand this. They think that we can worship anyone and it is all the same. So, such kind of philosophy is very common in India also. They say, Jatopat, Jatomat, Tatopat. Whatever you think, worship that. And you are worshiping Krishna. No. You cannot worship anyone and say this is Krishna. Just like, take a practical example of this country. This country has got one president, and he has got many ministers, even a vice president. You cannot tell any minister, oh, now you have become a president. Can we say like that? No, we can't say. It's very offensive. And when people are being explained this truth very clearly, they don't want to accept it. So to come to one absolute truth, Sarva Dharma Paritaja, means Krishna is everything. You find very few people do it. That's why they sometimes take a verse from Bhagavad Gita. Yes, in one of the verses, Krishna says that whomever you worship, any god you worship, you're also worshiping me, but not directly. Avidhi Purvakam means not properly done. So people take advantage of that verse. They say, oh, Krishna says you worship anyone, you're still worshiping me. But then that is not really worshiping. It shows lack of intelligence, lack of Krishna conscious understanding, and a lack of surrender. Surrender begins the day you surrender to Krishna by accepting a bona fide spiritual master and accepting the rules and regulations he gives you. And every disciple is given an order or an injunction by his spiritual master, his or her spiritual master. You do this, and you simply do that. I recall in 1980s that in the beginning of 80s, we used to have one Prabhupada disciple. At that time, used to be the old temple. And he was quite an elderly person, must be around 65, 70. And I was in 20s in those days. So he would sit in his room, and anytime you go to his room, you always see him chanting Hare Krishna, right from the morning till evening. Except for lunchtime, he'll come and take prasad with the devotees. Otherwise, he'll go back to the room. So one day I asked him that, why are you chanting all the time? He says, that is the order of my spiritual master. I am supposed to chant the whole day. And he stayed for a few months and few years, and he went away. But anyway, that is called obedience to the spiritual master. The injunction, the instruction may be very simple. You have to follow it. And sometimes the instruction may be very heavy. You still have to follow it. Sometimes you may find yourself not capable of following the instruction of your spiritual master. If you try to do it, Krishna will help you. If you remember in the 6th chapter, Sri Prabhupada gives a story of determination, a story of a sparrow which had kept eggs and which were devoured by the ocean. So the sparrow told the ocean, return the eggs. And the sparrow did not, the ocean did not answer anything. So the sparrow told the ocean, I'll dry you up. She started taking water from the ocean, taking a few drops and going and throwing it far away. This endeavor of the sparrow, it went on to so many demigods, including Garuda. And Garuda is a huge bird, which is a carrier of Krishna. He came and he told the ocean, if you do not return the eggs, I'll dry you up. And the ocean had to return the eggs. So that is called a story of determination. Now this determination cannot come into you if you do not surrender to Krishna. So you cannot say, I can worship any god and it is all the same. No, that's not the right understanding. Krishna said in a couple of verses, even in the 7th chapter, they go in a line. First of all, it says, Kamastataita jnana prapadyante anya devata. Those whose minds or those whose intelligence is stolen by material or lusty desires, they'll worship any gods. Another verse, it says, Alpamedasha, they're not very intelligent. In other words, Krishna does not like anyone worship anyone else except Krishna. So this number 2, that those who concoct some form of the Supreme Lord, worship that, they are category of that people. And the third category is those who worship the universal form. Universal form means they have some idea that there is God, but they have no good understanding of who is God. But it's still acceptable because they are not very learned. For example, if you go to Srimad Bhagavatam, there are sections which speak about universal form. They say the mountains, the trees, the ocean, the sun, the moon, everything is a part of the universal form of the Lord. Or the Lord, this universal itself is a body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yes, that section is there in the Srimad Bhagavatam, but that does not still mean that you surrender to Krishna. It means you have some basic idea. Just like, even if you go to any country of the world, any part of the world, people have some idea that there is some Supreme Lord. They do not know anything about them. There are people who worship the sun, there are people who worship some trees, there are people who worship some mountains. It means that there is natural tendency to worship. And this category, this is the third category, that they worship Vishwarupa. Vishwarupa means at least this world, what is in front of us, because they have no idea more than that there is something beyond this. For example, there are people who come to a temple, when you tell them that Krishna is in Vaikuntha, Krishna is in your heart, Krishna is everywhere. And one of the first things they say, oh, have you seen Vaikuntha? Has anybody been there? Or where is it written? And when we show them in the scriptures, they don't want to believe it. It's just a matter of belief. It means their knowledge is still limited. So these are the 3 categories Sri Prabhupada is mentioning, that these are the kind of people, which is in the verse, Ekatvame pritatvena bahuda vishwata mukham. That means they think that either I am God or I can worship anyone and that is God, or everything is God. Anything I see in existence is God. Yes, in one way it's true. Everything belongs to God, but that does not mean everything is God. Just like in your body, you touch any part of your body, it is that part of your body, but you are still not that body. You are the spirit soul. That is the beginning of spiritual life. So, Sri Prabhupada explains further that those who worship themselves as God, they are considered to be very low, lowest of category. And most of these, in fact, all of them are impersonalists. For example, like those who take a Mayavadi philosophy, they will address anyone or each other, sannyasis, as Narayan. They meet each other, they'll say Namo Narayan. It means you are Narayan, I'm Narayan, everyone is Narayan. Now, if everyone is Narayan, then who is the original Narayan? Doesn't make any sense. Or sometimes they say, when it comes to help, you should help only poor people. So in Sanskrit, poor people are called Daridra. Daridra means poor. So they say, help Daridra Narayan. It means the poor Narayan. So Prabhupada argues, how can he be Daridra? Narayan is Lakshmipati. He's the husband of the goddess of virtue. Krishna is called Madhav. Madhav means the husband of the goddess of fortune. Like we people, like in Nairobi, we have very common thing. If you go to any shop, especially Indian shop, they may not keep any picture of God, but they'll definitely keep a picture of Lakshmi. They think, oh, let me worship Lakshmi. But when you talk about Narayan, no, we are not interested in Narayan. They don't know that without Narayan, there can't be Lakshmi. They have no idea about it. But if you read the Brahma Samhita, thousands of Lakshmis worship Krishna. Lakshmi Shastra Sata Sambrama Sevyabanam Govindavadi Purusham Dhamamaja. It means thousands of Lakshmis are serving Krishna. We know maybe in Nairobi one Lakshmi, but there are thousands of Lakshmis worshipping Krishna. But people, when you speak about it, people say, oh, you have concocted, or maybe because you have become a devotee of Krishna, that is why you are saying like that. And they don't believe any scriptures, nor if you show them a scripture, they don't want to read it. An example I can give you is a friend of mine, very nice man, very pious man. If you say that there are people who are in need of money for school fees, there are people who need food, he will at once help. But he has no faith in God. No faith is absolutely no faith in God. How? I explained to him one day that come to temple and come and see Krishna. He says, no, I don't believe in Krishna and I don't want to come to your temple. I said, why? He says, God can never take birth. So I said that, okay, if you don't worship Krishna, then worship Lord Nrsimhadev. He appeared from the column. And the first thing he remarked is that he was already in the column. From there he appeared. It means he has no faith. So faithless people to explain the reality is very, very difficult. Even if you give some evidence, it's very difficult. That's why Prabhupada said, these are the most unfortunate people. Now, if you want to become fortunate, what do? Take shelter of someone who is better than you in Krishna consciousness. And somehow, if that person happens to be a pure devotee, at once you recognize Krishna or you'll accept Krishna. So, many people who are faithless, they're called Prakita. Prakita Bhaktas means not very serious, and their faith can change anytime. So we should not stay in that category. If we are in that category, go up. The easiest way to go up is take the shelter of the association of devotees. Keep a company of devotees. And if you keep a company of devotees, there is every hope that you will change. So by association of devotees, we get a push to come into Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is not something very cheap. It is, according to the Vedas, is the original way of worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prabhupada says the whole Indian culture originally is Krishna culture. Now it has changed. It's changed in a matter of years, at least in the last 40, 50 years. It has changed so much that people don't worship Krishna now, don't worship maybe someone else. But if you study the history properly Or if you happen to meet people of at least 40 years ago, if they were in India, everyone used to worship Krishna, everyone. Now the culture is changing and fast changing, is degrading so much that people want to give up Krishna consciousness. And Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, had foreseen these things. He said, this is going to happen. The way we are accepting all the other cultures, we are going to forget our original Vedic culture. And that is what happened. And that's why he sent Srila Prabhupada, he advised Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, you go and preach in English outside India. When the people are outside take up Krishna consciousness, people of India will also take up Krishna consciousness. And all this is happening right now. It's happening, and it's true. And the people who worship universal form means they do not know anything outside the world. They think that even this universe is an organism. And whatever is there is happening here. Like we have many other people who do not believe in our Krishna consciousness. They also have this kind of an idea that whatever is there is here. The world was here before, it will be here, even in future, the world will not change. They don't believe in creation, they don't believe in annihilation, they don't believe in heaven or hell, nothing. They say everything is here and that is it. Now to preach Krishna consciousness is very, very difficult. So what we can learn from here is that Krishna came here, or Krishna comes here wherever there's a decline in religious principles. So especially the age of Kali Yuga, if we can take the shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then everything will become very easy. There's a verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita that even the most difficult thing, if you take the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, will become easy. And even the simplest thing will become very difficult if you don't take the shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's why accepting Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is one of the first steps into Krishna consciousness. Understand Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mood, his mission, and accept his his ways. He tells us three things. Bhajo Krishna, worship Krishna. And how is Krishna worship? By chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Then second thing he says, Khao Krishna. Khao Krishna means eat only Krishna Prasad. And third thing he says is Karo Krishna Siksha. It means read, understand Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, and preach to others. These are the three prime instructions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If we can follow them, then we'll always remain in Krishna consciousness. Sometimes people say, oh, you people in ISKCON are very, very narrow-minded. You only worship Krishna. You don't worship anyone else. Well, the answer is that's the way it's supposed to be. We don't make things complicated. We accept Krishna the way he is. You also accept Krishna the way he is, and you will never go down in your life. So few people accept, others don't. So I think that only people who are fortunate, they will accept Krishna. So that's why in this couple of verses, Krishna spoke about great devotees. I mean, why people don't accept Krishna and those who accept Krishna. And the verse for today he speaks about other people who are not accepted Krishna, but somehow or other, they want to cultivate knowledge and worship the Lord. They think by getting knowledge, we will understand the Supreme. Or they want to worship Krishna in a very complicated way, in a diverse ways. And the third one is in a universal form. So this is the main theme of this particular verse, 15. Krishna is giving Arjuna a kind of a insight that those who don't accept me, they'll worship this and this and this. For example, like the famous example of the sun, sunshine, and the sun globe. Now, anyone who is intelligent will accept all three and know that the origin is the sun. But the others who don't accept the sun, they will accept sunshine. sun rays, or maybe the disk of the sun. In a similar way, if one does not want to accept Krishna, one will accept someone else or something else. Everything, of course, is Krishna, but that does not mean everything is Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives this philosophy called Achintya Bhed Abheda Tattva. Sri Prabhupada explains in a very easy way. Sun and sunshine, they are two different things. At the same time, they are one thing. It means one thing having two different forms. And another way, it seems to be one, but it is not one. Sun is sun and sunshine is sunshine. You cannot say sunshine to be the sun. In a similar way, everything is Krishna, yet everything is not Krishna. For example, in the 7th chapter, Krishna spoke about these two energies, Parashakti, Aparashakti. Aparashakti means earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, force, ego. This is my inferior energy. It is also Krishna. And he talks about higher energy, which is the Parashakti, which is soul or the spirit. That is my higher energy. Both emanate from Krishna. Both are actually Krishna. At the same time, they are different from Krishna. Krishna remains Krishna. So this philosophy or this understanding, Sri Prabhupada has simplified very much. That yes, everything is Krishna, yet everything is not Krishna. Krishna remains Krishna. In other words, Krishna is aloof from everything, though everything is going on by the plan of Krishna, and that Krishna is in control of everything. In the end, Krishna is everything. So we devotees, what do? We take this understanding that as far as we remain in Krishna consciousness, we are one with Krishna. One with Krishna does not mean we have become Krishna. One with Krishna means we are one with his way of understanding Krishna, or we are following his instruction. At the same time, we are different from Krishna if we give up our devotional service. So we can learn from here that at least we are better than all these people. Those 4 people who come to Krishna, Artho Arthati, Jnani, and Jigyashu. These are 4 people, 3 kinds of people who worship themselves or some demigods or the universal format. That makes it 7. At least better than these are these 4 people. And among these 4, those who surrender to Krishna, they will become Krishna conscious. There's no doubt about it. Hare Krishna. Sorry. Any questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. Avinash Prabhuji, you have a question? We'd like to acknowledge the presence of Madan Gopal Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji, for joining.
Yes, I can see Madan Gopal. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I just wanted to say something actually, and also give your views as well. We just had Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's birthday just recently, and he's actually so merciful.
Yes.
And it has been said actually, by having the deities of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda at home to worship, he is so merciful. And the distinction between having Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu and having Lord Krishna, Radha Krishna, there is some distinct, you have to be strict on one. And because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is so merciful, and because he has come just 500 years ago, and he's given us this mercy. So I just wanted to your views on that sort of thing, that having Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's devotees at home, at home, or deities at home, and how, I mean, I have got Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Nityananda, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at home, and we do whatever we have to do. But I have heard from senior devotees that if you have Radha Krishna, the actually the restrictions are slightly more higher.
It is true. The worship of Radha Krishna is very difficult. Worship of Gaunita is very easy. I mean, compared to Radha Krishna, Gaunita is much more easier. And they are not what you call, even if you commit some offenses here and there, Gaunita, let go. For example, if you go to Vrindavan, I can give you a practical example. You go to Vrindavan, you commit an offense in Vrindavan, you get a big punishment. But if you go to Mayapur, which is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's birthplace, if you make some offenses here and there, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very, very merciful. He does not take any offense. Because rather, he'll be very happy that you come to his land. So in other words, worship of Gaunita is easier, better. And for Kali Yuga, I would advise everyone to worship Gaunita. It is mentioned here. If you go to the 3rd chapter, the famous verse, I think most of you know this, Krishna Varnam Tusha Krishnam Sangopangasya Pasadam Yagye Sankirtan Prayaye Yajanti Hi Suvedasha. That Krishna is descended not in the color of Krishna, but is the same time Krishna Varnam. Tusha Krishnam is not blackish, is golden. And he performs Sankirtan with his Parshad, means with his associates. And those who are intelligent, Sumedasha, means those who are good intelligence, we worship him. So this verse clearly says that we should worship Gaunita. In fact, to worship Radha Krishna, you can't worship Radha Krishna without worship of Gaunita. So Prabhupada says, without a clearance for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you will not be able to know who is even Radha Krishna. Many of our Vaishnava bhajans, they say very clearly, without the worship of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you can't know who is Radha Krishna. And if you want to know Chaitanya Mahaprabhu without the mercy of Nityananda, you can't know who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So more merciful than Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Nityananda Prabhu. That's why we both are like, go together. You can't worship one and you can't worship another one. You have to worship both of them. So really speaking, we actually first have to take the shelter of Nityananda. Then you get the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And when you get the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then you'll be able to actually enter into the realm of worship of Radha Krishna. Many people say Radhe, Radhe. Sri Prabhupada does not recommend that. Why? Because he says we are not fit for that. People who can say Radhe, Radhe are the Brijavasis, who are original people who stay in Vrindavan, who have lived in Vrindavan, born in Vrindavan. They know no one but Krishna. They cannot say Radhe, Radhe, but we should not say that. We should just say Hare Krishna. The name Radha is already there. It's better to say Hare Krishna. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommended that we always chant Hare Krishna, by which we'll remain purified. And in this way, someday, by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we'll be able to enter into the realm of the worship of Radha and Krishna. Is that okay, Prabhu?
Yes, thank you. Okay.
Maybe Madan Gopal Prabhu can give some more light on that.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. I'm just smiling because you made the point right. You nailed it right on the head of the nail. Because a lot of the times we don't realize how important it is to approach Mahaprabhu. We approach directly, Radha Banki Bihari. We think Mahaprabhu is someone on the side. Actually, and even to approach Mahaprabhu, then you said the right point that that bhajan is very nice, Haha Prabhu Nityananda Premananda Sukhi. That yes, Prabhu, without you we cannot approach Krishna Chaitanya. And then we say Daya Karo Sita Pati Advaita Gosai Tava Kripa Bole Pai Chaitanya Nitai. So even Chaitanya Nitai we can't approach unless we have Advaita Gosai's mercy.
Yes.
Then after that he says Haha Swarup Sanatana Rupa Raghunath Bhatta Juga Sri Jiva Prabhu Lokanath. So we cannot approach Advaita Goswami without the mercy of the 6 Goswamis and Prabhu Lokanath. And then he says Daya Karo Shri Acharya Prabhu Srinivasa Ramachandra Sangam Age Narottama Das. Narottama Das then says Srinivas Acharya, please give me your mercy. And then he says, Ramachandra Sangamagit. So this Ramachandra is his equal, is his associate, his dear friend. So he says, even without my equal friends, I can't practice Krishna consciousness. So what Prabhupada has given us is the whole society, that society of equals, plus our gurus, plus the six Goswamis, plus then Advaita Acharya, etc., etc. So he has given us everybody, the whole crowd. We can't do it alone. We need the whole crowd of mercy, And Prabhupada is so kind that he's given us his whole system. We just have to step into the crowd and just dance with them. It's very sweet.
True. Okay, there was a devotee. Sorry. There was a devotee called Nirhari Prabhu. I don't know if you know him.
I know him. I met him. Yeah.
Okay. Nirhari Prabhu, very, very advanced, very senior devotee. He explained that our society is called International Society for Krishna Consciousness. If you translate it in Sanskrit, Krishna consciousness means Krishna Chaitanya. Consciousness means Chaitanya. So Srila Prabhupada is very wise. He put his name Krishna consciousness. If you go to the Sanskrit translation, it is Krishna Chaitanya.
That's right.
So actually, we are meant to be devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we would have not known who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu if Prabhupada never came to us, or these books never came to us. So we are supposed to go through Prabhupada, I would say, or his representatives. So we don't break this link. Dasa, Anudasa, Anudasa. We join this one by one, make this whole chain going right up to the feet of Krishna. So we should consider ourselves to be very small devotees, standing in the same line. Like if you go to Chaitanya Charitamrita, very shocking that in the beginning is a tree of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's descendants, his devotees. And if you read one by one, I read it many, many years ago, so I remember them. That in that list, there is the name of Jagai and Madai. So I said, these are not devotees. Why their names are there? Then another devotee said, yes, they are also devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So I said, if Jagai and Madai is there, it means I am one of them also. In future, my name will also be on that tree. At least I joined that tree. So we are all supposed to join the tree. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, I have given this big tree sweet fruits, which are known as Krishna consciousness. And take this fruit, enjoy it. So our duty is to pluck the fruit and distribute to others. And what is that fruit? Chanting of the holy name, Krishna Prasadam, and dancing in the holy name of Krishna. Still the mission remains the same. So without the worship of Gauritai, you can't go anywhere. I remember very, very the beginning, of course, in my family, the first deity, going back 1985, my brother, my mother had gone to India. They brought for us Radha Krishna. And then my younger daughter, she wanted just Gauritai. So this is where Gauritai came. So since that day, at least we had some idea who. And what really actually helped us is when we read this book, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Very, very beautiful book. Every devotee must read this book. It's more or less like a glance into Chaitanya Charitamrita. And if you read that book, you realize who is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then going into the finer details, you'll have to read Chaitanya Charitamrita. Okay, Avinash Prabhu, is that okay?
Yes, Prabhu, thank you. Thank you for the katha.
All right. Anybody has any other questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, can you hear me?
Yes.
I can't hear you. I'm having connection problems, Prabhuji. Prahlad, Prabhuji, please take over.
No problem, not here. Any questions?
Okay, one thing I can share with you if nobody has any questions, especially in Africa, people will not accept Krishna very easily, but people will accept Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very easily. Seeing the very form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they know he's a saint. And especially those who come from Christian backgrounds, Muslim backgrounds, they like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. they say, yes, he's a saint like us. I mean, like ours. And he said that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's prophecy that the chanting of the holy name and the chanting of his name will go around the world to every town, every village. And that prophecy will come true. It's already coming true. Everywhere, anywhere you go in the world, people know about ISKCON, and through ISKCON they come to know who is about, who is Gaur-Nitai and Radha Krishna. Okay?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I could hear that. And is that because Chaitanya Mahaprabhuji has a resemblance with Jesus Christ? Is that the reason? Or
Could be, it could be. But the very form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with his hands raised and chanting Hare Krishna is very attractive. Dancing. You find that especially in our local African blood. You play any music and even a small African child will start dancing. It's within the blood. It means Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will come into their hearts. I have that feeling.
okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
All right.
Are there any other questions or comments? Sorry, I lost you. I do not know whether you were continuing, but I was out of the Zoom class for 5 or 10 minutes. Any more questions or comments? Prahlad Prabhuji, please take over if you can't hear me.
No, we can hear you just fine, Mataji. I can't see any hands raised up. So I don't think so there are any more questions. Well, in that case, I now hand over to Soni Mataji to close the session for us. Hare Krishna, Soni Mataji. If she's not there, then we can have Richa Mataji close the session for us. Hare Krishna, Richa Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Dhanvat Pranam. I think I see Soni Mataji.
Sorry, Mataji.
Oh.
Mataji,
Okay, should I do it
close the
then?
session for us.
Should I just continue then?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, Hare Krishna to all the devotees. I would like to thank everyone for joining in today. And we have already acknowledged the presence of so many other devotees. I would like to thank Rukma Prabhu, Dhanvat Pranam to him. Well, one thing I can say is that no one will have any questions. I can say that with guarantee because Rukma Prabhu is one of the best preacher that I know so far. And like there are no questions. He would just put everything on point. Now it depends on our consciousness. We take it or we leave it. Everything he just puts clear in our plate. And I'm really grateful to hear him. He taught us a lot about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and it's related to Gaur Purnima, and it really clears my personal doubts because I never knew that to approach Sri Radha Krishna, I have to first anyone has to first approach Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I thought first we approach Radha Krishna and then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I had that misconception, but I'm really grateful that it got cleared. I would request everyone to please unmute and sing Mahamantra. Please unmute.
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare Rama, Hare
Rama Rama, Hare
Hare
Hare.
Vancha
Vancha
Kalpa
kalpatarubhyascha kripa
सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः।
वैष्णव ठाकुर की जय।
जय Grace Rukma Prabhu ki jai.
Jai. Madan Gopal Prabhuji ki.
Ki jai.
Thank
Thank
you.
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.